Welcome back to Manzoor's EVS tutorials. Today our topic is biodiversity. The term biological diversity it was given by Noors and McManus in 1980. The term biodiversity it is abridged form of biological diversity, or it is short form of this biological diversity is biodiversity. This term biodiversity it was given by Walter G. Rosen. If we look at this term biodiversity, bio it means life and diversity means variety. Life and this diversity it means variety. So literally we can say this biodiversity it is a variety of life. We can say it is variety of life. So it is all the organisms, all the living beings which are present on the earth would constitute the biodiversity. This biological diversity or biodiversity, it includes plants, animals and microorganisms present in a given region. So first biodiversity is plants, all plants rather, plants, animals and microbes present in a given region. So we can say biodiversity is all plants, animals and microbes present in a given region. If we see individuals of same species, they differ from each other. If for example we human beings, we differ from each other. For example, if we see any individuals of some species, they differ from each other in one way or other way. So there are difference between difference in individuals of same species, or we can see within the species there are also differences. So if we have some species, the individuals of same species they also differ from each other, which we call variation. This variation it is due to genes, or we call it genetic variation. So there is variation present within the individuals of same species as well. If we move, there are different species, they also vary from each other, or we can say they are also different from each other in one way or other way. For example, if we see sheep, it is one species, human beings one species, goat one species, horse one species, elephant one species, but all these species they differ from each other. This variation or differences in different among the species is called species diversity. So there are variations or differences in species, there are variations in or differences among the species. So among species or among the species we are having variations or differences, we can say. Beyond this, if we look at the ecosystems, they are also different. They are all one ecosystem, it differs from other ecosystem. For example, if we are having grassland ecosystem, pond ecosystem, some forest ecosystem, desert ecosystem, they all are different, they all differ from each other, or we can say there is diversity in ecosystems as well. So ecosystems as well. Ecosystems. So variations or differences they are at individual level within the individuals of same species. They are at species level, or we can say the differences or variations are present among the members of different species, or ecosystem level as well, or we can say differences or variations are present in ecosystems as well. In biodiversity we include all those things, The differences which are present at gene level, which are present at species level, or which are present at ecosystem levels. So biodiversity, we can say biodiversity is the totality of genus, species, and ecosystems present in any region. So it is totality of genus, species, and ecosystems present in a given region. Third definition of ecosystem, we can say like the biodiversity, it is richness of species of all living organisms, or we can say biodiversity, it is richness in variety and variability of species of all living organisms. So it is richness in variety and variability. Richness in variety and variability. Variability of species of all living organisms. Species of all living organisms. If variety, it tells us about this species variety, the different living organisms which are present in different regions. And variability, it tells us about the variations which are present within the species, within the individuals of same species. So this definition of biodiversity, which tells us biodiversity is richness in variety and variability of species of all living organisms. It talks about genetic diversity as well as this species diversity, but it doesn't talk about this ecosystem variety. After this, one more definition of this biodiversity it came up, which is similar to this, but they added ecosystem to it as well. So we can say biodiversity, it is richness in variety and variability of species of all living organisms, plus the ecosystems or ecological complexes in which they occur. So इसके साथ थोड़ा ये ऐड हो जाता है यहाँ पे, ये ecosystem or ecological complexes are also included. So if we start from over here, plants, it was telling us about the plants, animals and microorganisms present in any given region would constitute biodiversity of the area. But this biodiversity, it is actually species diversity, because it is telling us about the differences or the variations which are present among the different species of living organisms. So this definition, it doesn't tell us about this genetic diversity, the variations which are present at individual level within the species. This definition, which tells us about biodiversity, is totality of genes, species, and ecosystems present in any given region. It tells us about this genetic diversity, species diversity, as well as ecosystem diversity. So this definition is perfect, or we can say it is better. This diversity, this definition which tells us, which says biodiversity is richness in variety and variability of species of living organisms. It talks about both genetic diversity as well as species diversity, but it doesn't talk about this ecosystem or ecological diversity. Number fourth definition, via the ecosystem variation was added. So this is richness. Biodiversity is richness in variety and variability of living organisms and the ecological complexes in which they occur. So these two definitions lost the second and fourth one. They include all these things. They include variations at genetic level, they include variations at species level, and they also include variations at ecosystem level. Earlier definitions, they were talking of species diversity only. So these definitions, they were modified or they were improved to include variations at genetic level and variations at ecosystem level as well. So now we can say biodiversity, it is sum total of variations which are present at genetic level, species level, and ecosystem level. So we can say this biodiversity, it is sum total of all the genes, all the species, and all the ecosystems which are present in any given region. Thank you.